Welcome to The Leaders Who Care, a podcast powered by Dynamis Group. We are here to give the stage and support to those committed to create a positive and lasting impact, way beyond the profits and margins, the leaders of the world who care for others and serve a bigger purpose. Join us on the journey of creating a better, more caring world. And now to your host, Stoyan Yankov.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 69 of The Leaders Who Care. I'm very excited to be here with my good friend and exceptional professional, not just an exceptional professional, but somebody who's really a caring leader, who really cares beyond all the fantastic business results that she and her team produces. Kotryna, good morning. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm very excited. To be honest, I woke up excited for this show. I knew that it will be happening today, so the whole day just was right away from the morning with some good emotions. How are you today?
Really good. I just had a nice glass of specialty coffee. And I'm ready for diving deeper into hearing more about your story, about what you're up to these days, and all these other topics. And maybe Kotryna, we can start with that. Why don't you give us a brief overview about yourself, your background, where have you lived, and what brought you to the current part of the journey, what you're doing today?
So for the last 7.5 years, I've lived in Denmark. That's where I think my story begins. I'm originally from Lithuania, Vilnius, where I am right now as well. But it all became, and especially everything that is connected with the career path, became in Denmark for me. And so there, of course, I finished economics and I finished sales management. But I didn't really know where I will be. I started one business when I got to Denmark. That didn't work out. And then I knew that at some day I would still like to do something on my own. It was just somehow engraved in me. I just knew that there will be some more knowledge that I need to gain. So working my way through different companies, places, 3 different cities in Denmark, got me finally to Copenhagen, where I started Linkedist. And so till this day, we are almost 3 years old, already crawling, walking maybe a little bit as well. And yeah, that's where we are today. And so what we do with Linkedist is we help other businesses grow. And we help other businesses grow with LinkedIn marketing, LinkedIn sales, LinkedIn advertising, and workshops for the employees. And I'm just, excited and happy about every single day that I get to be a part of this wonderful team at Linkedist and help others in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just reflecting back now how we actually met, and probably was like 5 years ago. You remember the story? I remember we had a interesting story, maybe a little bit embarrassing, but I think it will be interesting if you if you maybe share with the audience, and then we can continue.
Yeah, so it was a very interesting story till this day. One of the best stories, I believe, how I got to know a person, and in this case, you. Back then, I was really reaching out to a lot of different people on LinkedIn. Stoyan and I, we were living in the same city, and I remember inviting Stoyan for a cup of coffee because I wanted to get to know him. And so, yeah, I was really interested by your message, I remember, because you said, yes, we can meet for some coffee. I will need your input on something first. And then after that, because you were preparing for a big speech, after that we can chat. And I thought, okay, that's one way to do it. Let's go. And I remember helping you out without even knowing you, right? That's like also what the podcast today, I guess, is a little bit about, the caringness for other people. And I think that we need more of. Just first, not seeing it as a transaction, but rather just helping out somebody who needs it, and then seeing where it goes.
To give a bit of context, I was invited to give a speech for Women's Entrepreneurship Day in Copenhagen, and I think I was one of the two male speakers. It was a huge room with 95% ambitious, entrepreneurial-minded women. And when you asked me to have coffee and to say hello, basically the only possible, I didn't have so much time to prepare, so I was using the opportunity, and I was really happy with the help and this is such an important point, by the way, Kotryna, that you're making, is how much the importance of paying it forward somehow, of doing something good for somebody in terms of building business relationships, or in terms of generally being a good human being, like
Mm,
starting with giving value up front.
mm.
And maybe we can kind of start like the conversation from there. um, when do you think you develop this type of mindset, and do you believe from all your interactions with business leaders, the business world needs to be a little bit more conscious about this type of mindset?
Definitely, it needs to be more conscious about it, because uh, for some, and that also applies to some cultures. For some cultures, for some people, it's only transactional. And what we know, what happens with this type of interactions that are only transactional, is that they don't create this relationship between people. They only happen, and that's about it, right? It's only one way, another way, thank you, goodbye. Whereas with these relationship interactions, they last for a long time. Like now we've known each other for this many years, and we help each other out, and we don't need to kind of like know exactly what's happening in details in every person's life, but we know about them, we have a strong connection with them, and so we know that if there's a situation, we can depend on them, we can invite them to do something, we can invite them to help us, and they will just simply do that because of that relationship. So we do need more of that, because it's more sustainable in the long run. And where everything is going towards sustainability in general in the world, we also need sustainability brought back into the business relationships.
And I'm just wondering now, can you remember any example or a story where you or somebody that you know went out with this kind of mindset of, I'm just going to give value first with no expectations,
Mhm.
and and see where things go, just because it's the right thing, and then some kind of things unfolded out of this kind of energy that you put out?
Many times, like I would say countless amount of times, because everything I did, and also my colleagues and everyone, some people that I know, for the business, is you do it, you don't know the exact result, right? Just this morning, that's a good story. I had a call with a lady, and a few weeks ago, I gave us free pro bono speech at a Lithuanian business event, and I was not expecting anything out of it. And so, right after that event, 2 weeks later, this lady contacted me wanting to help out and maybe start a partnership and promote Linkedist. And so, we just had a call this morning, and she just really wants to promote our services. And that doesn't, that I did not expect, that I did not plan, that I did not forecast.
That's a great example, and it's very fresh, as I can hear
Yeah.
from from this morning. So hopefully we can inspire more people to actually have this kind of mindset. And I'm wondering, when you hear the word caring, and
Mhm.
the title of the podcast, the leaders who care, and you relate it to business, what does it mean to you when it comes to caring in the business world?
It's a topic that is, I must say, very close to my heart, because I see leaders who care, and I see leaders who don't care at all. I don't see somebody in the middle that much. It's either one or the other, like you either are this inspiring and empathetic and caring leader, or you're not. And that's where I feel like we need to draw the line, like which side you take. And so for me, I've in this business journey, I've also seen and been in some places where I thought that this was a negative, where I thought that, like, okay, I need to be more strict, I need to be more, cold, and, like, don't get involved too much with the emotions and things like that. But at the end of the day, I feel like if you are like that as a person, or if you want to be like that, that's how maybe it should be. And now I totally agree that we do need to have leaders who are more caring and who are empathetic towards their employees. Because one simple thing, one simple sentence that I want people to take away is that people these days have so many opportunities. They can literally go right and left and get job offers, and so why would they choose to stay with you if you don't create this safe and calm environment for them to grow in? So this is the single takeaway. I mean, you can like really be strict and super not caring about your employees, but that won't go long, and that will just result in a big, trying to retain the employees, but not actually inspiring them to do the work themselves.
I've
So
seen some different statistics, and according to some studies, the biggest tech companies in the world, as we know them, they manage to retain their employees in between 1 and 2 years on average.
mm,
This is the biggest, most powerful companies with the biggest resources. Now, I don't know how exactly they treat their employees on top of paying them on time and giving them opportunities to do what they do. But if that's the statistics and they're true, then we have work to do. Because people don't care only about the paycheck.
no.
People care about being treated well. People care about being appreciated. People care about being given ownership. People care about their manager or executive coming down and having a human conversation and trying to understand how they feel, how's their family, what's going on. So in 2022, we no longer live in a world of industrial revolution and so on and so
Mm,
forth. We need to be a lot more, as you said, empathetic,
mm-hmm,
compassionate, and it doesn't go against the bottom line. I think that's where some business people, executives, are a little bit. It's like, this caring is great, but we need to do business.
mm-hmm,
It doesn't go against it, at least in the long run. It's actually really, really positive.
mm,
You can we had a fantastic person on the podcast, another fantastic person, Howard Bihar, he's the founding president of Starbucks International.
mm-hmm,
Basically, he's the guy who built a culture of Starbucks, people first kind of culture. And he was like, you can make money and you can live your values and take care of people. It doesn't go against each other. I mean, it's been proven so many times. Um,
mm-hmm.
so so thank you for sharing, Kotryna, all these points and putting this as an emphasis for us to kind of reflect and see what can we do to actually be more caring leaders.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll be my next question. Like, what do you think we can do to be more caring leaders in 2022?
First of all, we can try to learn and also evaluate ourselves. You have to look inwards into yourself and see, would you also be satisfied having such environment? Would you stay? Would you be loyal to the brand, the company, yourself? Because when money is not a question anymore, then the next question is always, like, do I feel happy? do I feel fulfilled working at the company? So to understand it yourself, it's a big step, because I feel like a lot of leaders in the beginning, they don't want to admit some things, or we're still trying to figure it out. So that would be the first step. And then, of course, like talking to your team members. And I must say that during the last year, I have made some decisions that were going against my values, and that were going against what I truly believe. Not all, but some decisions were there. But also, now that I reflect about it, I see, okay, I needed to make those decisions to see the consequences, and to also learn that, okay, no, I actually need to stick to what I believe.
Without giving a very specific example, can you maybe just give us a bit of an idea
A
what do you mean
glimpse.
by that? Like why did you do that? Like what was the reason you actually decided
Mm,
to go against your values in a certain way?
I think it was because I listened to someone externally, and that can be a big help. A lot of the times, to have external eyes looked upon some things, and tell you. But then sometimes it can also be not good, and in that case, it wasn't the best. And then, like, after the decision was done, and I realized, okay, yes, I did save some money for the business in that way, like making that decision. But on the other hand, you might leave a person salty, and that's not something that I personally believe in. I of course, you can make everybody happy, which is something that sometimes I still have to remind to myself, that I cannot make everyone happy. But again, you don't have to compromise on your values, because I hope I am, and maybe my team members can say if that's true or not. But at least I'm trying to care for the other team members, and be that empathetic leader.
I had a chance to talk to your team members, and that was definitely the exact phrase that I've heard. She's trying to make everybody happy.
Yes.
So I really think you're very empathetic and compassionate, and thank you for being actually vulnerable and sharing, because we all learning, we all on the journey,
Mm.
and trying to get better. But I'm actually curious, out of this experience, what is your key takeaway, and how would you act differently in the future?
I would say that if it's, like in the situation, when you are balancing on the scales, you have on one side, you have members good feeling, and also the aftertaste of like someone's aftertaste of collaborating, or like a small amount of money. And I don't know anymore if that small amount of money is worth to take in, like not to give to that person or something, like just to make sure that the collaboration was good. Because also in this day and age, we have social media, we have all kinds of things, and it can really, like, yeah, I guess, affect your business. But that's something like I would reflect on this situation.
You're making a very important point here, and Katrina, as you know, um, me and my co-author Cristobal have published a book, not just based on our learnings and theory, but by interviewing many successful entrepreneurs and thought leaders from the region, specifically the region of, as we like to call it, New Europe, Central and Eastern Europe, and the Nordics. And it was very interesting to talk to all these people, talk about culture and values, and just ask them this similar type of questions, like we're having a discussion here. Like,
Mm.
have you ever breached your values for a short-term gain? Or did you
Mm-hmm.
hire somebody that was a great performer? They didn't fit really the culture, but you can afford them, they can deliver results, and you kind of felt something is wrong. You kind of felt it in your stomach, but it was like, I know we need somebody to
Mm.
to really get things done. Um and having conversations with so many successful entrepreneurs, they had two answers. Either they said, we started working on the culture from day one, and our
Mhm.
values were our compass of how we make decisions, or I wish we started making decisions
Mhm.
from day one. And one of the fantastic ladies we interviewed, also from Lithuania, Ilma Nausedaite from Mela Leiden, later the
Mhm.
remote company. She's a co-founder, and it's a really great company from the region. Um, she shared this story that they were in a company offsite or retreat. They do these kind of staycations for a couple
Mhm.
of months. They bring the whole company, because they're more than 100 people, distributed team and remote team. And that was early on. Hey, let's go together, work 1 2 months together, have some good time. And then she was like, oh my god, there's a few people from the team. I don't
Mhm.
want them to talk to my kids,
Mhm.
uh, because they have a very negative influence. Why did we hire these people? Because at the moment we saw that they have the skills, we can afford them, so we got
Mhm.
them on board. Ever since this happened, she was like, we were laser focused on only living our values, only bringing on board people that are on the same page, have the same
Mhm.
principles and beliefs, and not just who you bring on board, but the way we make decisions, what connected to what we stand for, who we are, ethically, morally, and so on. So yeah, just wanted to
Very
share
interesting
also
story. Yeah.
also this story. But Katrina, I know how good you are in a specific area, many areas, but the one area that's really really important. I really want to pick your brain around this area, and this is the power of social media to make a positive impact. And
Mhm.
specifically, as a person that's consulting some of the best companies in the world, how to thrive on LinkedIn and other social medias, I would like to hear from you. What are some of the latest trends, or what's happening right now on LinkedIn?
What's
What should we
happening?
what should we pay attention to as leaders who care?
Well, there are like always a lot of things happening on LinkedIn, like on any other platform. This year started very much with companies being focused on employee advocacy and employee ambassadors. So it definitely started with a lot of workshops, and that wasn't just a trend. I mean, it's also companies realizing and understanding that these workshops, they help their employees and they help them to understand like the reasoning, the why. Because right when we talk about leadership, it's also coming in here is that a lot of the times it's just a decision made somewhere on the top coming downwards to the people, and they have to just basically roll with it. And so that is what is happening with these LinkedIn workshops as well, or people asking to be using LinkedIn, is that they don't understand the why. So this year we're doing a lot of workshops, and that's where the trend is going towards more people being active, people sharing and things like that. There was a research done by a company from Holland called Connected Circles, and they have been also evaluating like people's brands versus their company's brands, so the founder versus the company. And for instance, a good example is with IKEA CEO Jesper. IKEA has 1.7 million or something like that thousand followers, 1.6 million followers, yes. And their CEO has around 40,000 followers. And still, whenever he makes a post on LinkedIn, his post gets 300% more engagement than a company post. So at the end of the day, it's not about well, it sounds cheesy when you say it's not about the company, it's about the people, but it is actually like that on the platform as well with the algorithm, that it's not only about the company's content, but it is as much more about the people's content and what people are doing.
And let's maybe dig into that a little deeper, with the side of personal branding, and many leaders, especially executives who are very very busy, previously had this understanding, I'm very busy to be on social and to post stuff, and maybe I'm going to make a post every 3 months just when there is a major company celebration of a milestone or something. But
Mhm.
maybe could you give us a perspective on that? Why should caring leaders be very conscious about their presence on LinkedIn in 2022?
First of all, it's because one way to connect with so many people, and also so many people that they manage, and also so many people that follow their company, is to use social media platforms and to have a voice. What we see is that sometimes with bigger companies, especially, there is no like advocate for the company. And it's good to have that, because when something happens or when you want to communicate a strong message, or especially like in times of crisis, it's important to have a spokesperson. And if you don't communicate, and if you just randomly communicate once in a while, then people don't get to have this feeling that they can go to your profile and see what's new, or how are you reacting to this. So that's one way to also manage any kind of crisis, or let the people know, be aware of what is up, right? Of course, a lot of people issue an email or a statement internally, but also for people these days, it's much more important. And I was actually, a lot of things happened today, but this morning I was also doing a questionnaire. And in the questionnaire, people were asked to pick some of the brands. It was the same brand, but it had different messaging. And so I noticed that every time there was something about being transparent, sustainable, making decisions towards the consumer, but also the nature, I would click on that and buy that, and want to be a part of that brand. So you want to be a part of a brand, or you want to follow a company, or kind of root for the company even, um, when you know that they're being transparent with you, when you know that they don't hide anything. And also it's great to see like top management being honest about things. Like IKEA and Lego are two good examples of companies which have CEOs that are communicating.
And what would be your first kind of suggestion, like a checklist? Like if there's somebody who has a LinkedIn profile, they have not been really active in many ways. Maybe they
Mhm.
just join to follow the news and to click on different articles and so on, but they haven't been really out there. What would be the
Mhm.
checklist? What would be your advice to what should they start? Where should they start?
Um, where should they start in regards to building their profile, right?
That's
Or
right.
their communication?
Both. Like, where should they start in order to be um, proactive content creator on LinkedIn?
One way to start would be to go and check our Linkedist Courses Academy, because there we have a short course, just a very fast one about optimizing a profile. That's definitely the first thing to do, to optimize the profile, but also to talk with their marketing team, and see what kind of messages they want to convey, how they want to show their company. Because I feel like, if and a lot of leaders are like not natural copywriters, so there's definitely some consultations that needs to be done with the team about the things you want to communicate. But then also looking at other inspirational leaders, like checking Lego's CEO's profile and other people's profiles, and seeing how they communicate about their companies while still being human. Because we did see a lot of the times, Microsoft CEO or other big companies CEO that issue a statement, a public statement, that reaches the whole world. And that's all right, but that's not a part of the, let's say, that often and transparent communication as we can see on LinkedIn. Whereas it's more like some updates about the company, some measures that they're taking towards one or another cause, and what values they have, and things like that. Because Just one more comment about this is that you do these days want to be a part of a company that is, being transparent and popular in a way. Like, we all want to be a part of companies that are growing, that are exciting, that are somehow unique, different. And so that's one way to be unique and make yourself like a little bit more attractive towards the potential people, potential employees, is to by doing this. Yeah, by using this communication.
Okay, so you set up a stellar profile as much as you can. Maybe get some
Mm-hmm.
external help if you can't do it by yourself. And then when it comes to being active on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
what would be a way to start? Like, I think some people are struggling with I don't have anything to share, or so what could be some maybe ideas, suggestions, and maybe also in terms of the frequency of
Mm-hmm.
posting and so on
Mm-hmm.
that you can offer.
Well, in regards to posting, I think like if you want to stay active, it's good to post once a week. If you want to have a strong brand, it's good to post twice or three times a week, not more. So that's in regards to the posting. But then when it comes to ideas, of course, you can find ideas in a few different ways. One way is you can, again, talk with your team, ask what the customers are interested in, ask what your clients would like to know. Another thing is that people like to be educated. So whatever you post, try to see if there's value for the reader. Then also, as leaders, we read a lot, we consume a lot of knowledge every single week. So one way to also show what you're consuming would be by sharing it with your connections. So that's like the most simple thing you can do, right? Share a book or share something else that inspired you. And then also share a little bit, of course, about your story, like why as a company or as a leader you're doing the things you do, why you're choosing to be, for instance, a caring leader instead of the other way. Talk about some stories, issues, something you're seeing in the industry, some industry trends and things like that. And then if you really don't have any ideas, there's Quora.com, and in there people ask questions, and so you don't have to come up with something from the scratch, but actually take a look at, okay, so what are people asking in regards to a specific topic, because you can simply write like marketing or leadership or sales and you see what people are asking. And so if 200 people asked that question and voted for it, maybe there's some space for you to make a post and answer to that question.
That is really good. A few really good things that you share, Katrina. The first one is always having in mind, how can I create value instead
Mhm.
of how can I promote myself? How can I, maybe within your area of expertise or the things that you care about, but share something that could be insightful, educational, interesting statistics, your take on something, or something that's human. You're in the office and you kind of discovered something together with your team, and it's very human and personal, and people can relate to it. I love the idea about Quora. I'll share just another example that I found was quite a good example, and I was like, I probably should do that myself. That was connected to what you say with what do people ask. um, Maya Voje, a friend of mine, she's a growth marketer from Slovenia. She had a post which was, what do you guys want to know about growth hacking, growth marketing? Ask me a question. I'll be super happy to answer everybody. And if people really like the questions, or they're interested about the questions, I'll make videos about elaborating on the specific topics, which I
Mhm.
found quite. There's so many people kind of posting in the comments, hey, how do you do this? I have this company, I do this and this. She kind of collected them, and in the next few weeks she was creating
Mhm.
content that was relevant for the people that follow her. And in the
Mhm.
same way, of course, people see how good she is as an expert, but it's
Mhm.
not her intention. Her intention is, let me give value, let me try and answer, and she gave me some really great advice as well because I posted a comment. So so I thought it was a really really good content piece. What do people want to know? And can I provide my expertise and my take on something that could be of value with whatever kind
Mhm.
of piece of content that I create? And then the other part that you mentioned about the purpose.
Mhm.
Um, why do we do what we do? There's some people that are exceptional influencers that they never talk about what they do. They always
Mhm.
talk about why. And I'll give another example of another a leader who cares, who's coming on the podcast in a few weeks, Lubomila Yordanova. She's the founder and CEO of a company called Plan A for the Planet, because there's no Plan B.
Mhm.
Um, Basically, if you go and check her out, Lubomila Yordanova, she doesn't talk about their software, their solution ever. She talks about climate change. She talks about the new
Mhm.
tendencies. She talks about how important it is. She talks about the bigger picture, talk about the purpose. And she
Mhm.
has so many followers, so many people connect with her because she really cares about the problem that she solves or they solve. So just a couple of other um, examples of how to create relevant content. But Katrina, you've been exceptional in creating relevant content. Maybe you want to share a few more examples and ideas with us of what could be a great engaging content post, article, you name it.
Mm, I think before you make your viral post, you need to really analyze your audience and experiment a lot. See, like, what is it that they like, what type of content, because people imagine that when I say content, there's a picture and a text. But there's more to it. There's a video, there's a document, there's a poll, there's a LinkedIn Live. There are a lot of different types of content. So you need to understand, okay, what is it that my audience likes to consume? What's the best way? And then I feel like it's about, being unique and interesting with your content, because a lot of the times we can see these posts that are copy pasted from each other, or that are very um, fluffy in themselves. There's no real value. So at the end of the day, those posts that have an interesting story plus the takeaways are doing the best. And those posts that are unique in a way that show something that is shocking, right, to you, those always do the best. And it's and yeah, and users, you make users feel like they've learned something, and that's the power of it.
Let me just share an example. Um, a few weeks ago, I I got really inspired, so I decided to share something. And sometimes you're thinking about algorithm, whatever. Like I need to make a
Yes.
post that's like algorithmically efficient. But I was like, you know what? I'm not doing that. I'm just gonna share something that came at the moment. So I was working on the on a keynote I had to deliver in the morning, and at some point I got this creative block.
Mm-hmm.
But um, I listened to a few weeks before that. I had two guests on my podcast that were talking about how they get creative. And one of them mentioned that in order to get creative, you want to do something completely different. Maybe you're
Mm-hmm.
working on a creative ad campaign. Okay, read a poem, watch a movie, go for a walk, listen to a podcast, something completely unrelated. And then
Mm-hmm.
there are some things that connect. There was another guy, Jamshid, a great person. He was also on the Leaders Who Care podcast, and he told me I find a lot of creativity in kids and animals because they are
Mm-hmm.
so spontaneous. Just when you watch them, they problem solve and they come up with solutions. It is so
Kids and
creative. It's so
animals.
inspiring, right? And what I did because I got this little creative block for 5 minutes, nothing comes around, was like I started watching birds birds flying in 4K with some kind of music, right? Like I just completely zone in on these birds, and it was like a YouTube video in slow motion, birds in 4K are flying, right? And I'm not joking. After the video, some ideas started to come up. Like it's like, this is this. I can maybe think about, like, because it was something different, and it was,
Yeah.
so I used bold advice in one, right? And I made a post about it after that. This morning, I got this creative block, but then I talk about this person and this person with their advices. So here's a video started watching. What do you do to get creative? It was
Mhm.
massive. People started commenting. And again, that was a link to a YouTube video, which
Mhm.
you might think um, algorithmically doesn't make sense because,
Yeah.
right? But doesn't matter because it was honest. It was real. It's
Mhm.
maybe something different. People are like, okay, I can relate. I sometimes have a creative block.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to share this example because I think sometimes those of us who are on LinkedIn or other social platforms for a longer time, we try to fit the algorithm and create a
Mhm.
perfect post, which could be another danger in a way.
Mm.
So how do you feel about that yourself? Do you sometimes feel like as well, like I'm trying to be too perfect to the algorithm and forget to be who you really are and share what you really feel?
No, actually, I wouldn't say that because my work is based on experimentation. So if I stick too much to the rules myself, there's nothing to teach the clients. If I always use the same technique for half a year or a year, I cannot say that, oh, listen, you know what? I tried this and actually it works really well. So I constantly try to experiment with the content, experiment with the different functions and things like that, and not to be just I know that I need to follow some of it, and I definitely know that of course the clients are also following if I'm following my own rules, but sometimes I just gotta break them because I need to see what works. And I had a story where one of the clients that we've consulted with Linkidist um, came up and said, you know what, in your workshop you said you needed to have 3 hashtags or 4 hashtags, but in this post you had none. So why? And I said, well, it's because I wanted to experiment and see like if I can still get the same results without any hashtags, for instance. And so yeah, I feel like with my content, definitely I have the rules in the back of my mind, but I also remind myself to experiment and try these different techniques, because the posts that went viral and went quite good, not always they follow these rules, and not always they have the best feature. It's all about the content actually in the post.
Yeah, and you mentioned the three hashtag as a technical advice in some ways. Like, what could be some other sort of um,
And
technical suggestions, which might not always work, but it's something good to keep in mind at least. Just like that could make the post more engaging and more, like people more active to connect and engage.
so the consultancy hour rate is I'm joking. I had to make this joke. It's always. But if we talk about the different functions that people can use to make their post a little bit better, is that one of them is, of course, trying to avoid links in the posts, but also trying to differentiate your content. So, like, have some pieces of videos, some pieces of posts, some pieces of polls, and things like that. Trying to follow LinkedIn's new functions, because what LinkedIn does is that when they introduce a new function, they really want users to start using it. And so, for the users to get acquaintance with the function, they are giving an extra push for that type of content or that function. So always try to stay on top of okay, what is new, what's happening. And then of course, like simple things, just like tagging more people and using the right hashtags. Also asking a question, A lot of the times people don't know how to, they want to engage, but they don't want to write great post. So you need to have like a question for them, because then they at least know what to comment back. So these would be some of the things.
Oh, these are great piece of advice. And one thing from at least from experimentation I see as well is somehow the posts that are more branded in terms of, I used to be having all these posts with my brand colors and I know all those kind of things, and I tend to see that they're getting less
Mm-hmm.
views because I don't know, maybe the platform wants you to be more real and authentic. And so
Mm-hmm.
when let's say when I post a picture or a video even that has no branded anything, it gets more views and more, it's being shown more to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, avoiding the, as much as you can, kind of the very usual cheesy stock photos, as opposed to something real and honest. And so there is some sort of a balance between really bad quality photo and like,
It
but
has to be. It has to be in the balance. Sorry for cutting you off, but just a small comment. It has to be somewhere in the middle. And also, it's not only LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is noticing that your pictures are more like branded and has some extra elements and words and text in them. But it's also the people, because if people are shown your piece of content once and they don't engage, and then they're shown your next piece of content and they don't engage, then LinkedIn is going to show your content less to the people. So the more, the more they don't engage, basically, the less they see of what you do.
that's
Yeah.
that's really really relevant. And I remember Katrina now, and I don't know if he's still um active in that sense, but I
Mm-hmm.
remember a few years ago you you spent some time on a daily basis to actually engage with other people's
Mm-hmm.
content.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still do that? Because I think sometimes people might be active in posting, but then they leave the network. You just post and that's it. And what I've seen you've been quite good at is actually engaging with other people's content through comments and actually providing value through
Mm-hmm.
value creating comments. Can you maybe talk about that? And if you have any story, even better, right? Like a story that brought you to a journey, you landed the business opportunity or something. I don't know.
So I definitely have those stories, but they're not lately, not something recently. I have not been doing too much of commenting myself, just because there was a lot of content creation. But I always try to follow and see what's happening, try to scroll a few times a day through my LinkedIn newsfeed. But that's one way to grow. That's one way to grow, is through comments and through commenting to other people's content and taking that audience towards your profile, and really showing that you're an expert. And I believe that from what we have done before, and if people tag us somewhere or tag me, I definitely try to share some tips, and that does bring business. I haven't been doing it too much lately, but I definitely encourage people to do that, because it definitely helps.
Yeah, some people even say if you are into a specific area, let's say marketing, growth
Mm.
hacking, and so on, you kind of follow these hashtags. If you have the time, you can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
You follow the hashtags, and then you just jump into um, random people's conversations and provide
Mm-hmm.
value, and just play the long term game and try
Yeah.
to see how you can be of most help without having expectations that something's going to happen.
Yeah.
But you know
Yeah, you can do that. And another thing is that something is coming in the spring for everyone is audio events, right? The same where we had Clubhouse, we are now having the same function on LinkedIn. So I've already been a part of a few audio events where I was not the host, but just a attendee, and you'll be able to jump around different conversations and present your business, present what you do. And so that's exciting for me to see like what will happen when everyone will also get that function going.
What is your take on that? Like, like your honest opinion about this function? Like, do you think it's it's going to create a lot of value, or it's a little bit overhyped in a way?
I think it can create a lot of value if the audiences are right, if the people that create those kind of events are the right people, because just like anywhere, we have loads of events online, only some are relevant. We have loads of audio events, we'll probably have a lot of them happening, only a very tiny portion will be relevant, because it's so easy to do an audio event, right? There's like, you don't need anything, you just need to turn it on, and you don't need a video, you don't need extra preparation, you just talk. So that's why audio events will be even more populated on the platform, because it doesn't take big effort. But will they create a lot of value? That's the next question, because I've been to a few audio events already on LinkedIn, and people were just talking about nothing basically, about their daily life, and that wasn't really interesting for me. So until you won't be able to have an audio event that is high quality, good speakers, everything else, until that, then there will be a lot of these which we will not find useful.
It sounds
Yeah.
like the facilitation would be a major
Mhm.
point on that one.
Yeah. Yes, and also, just like this, having this function is great, because it gives you another way to engage with your audience. Let's say you want to jump on a LinkedIn Live to answer to your audience questions. You need to prepare, you need to look good, you need to make sure your camera is working. You want to answer to your audience questions with an audio event. It's easy. You just make an audio event quickly, people join, they start asking you questions right away.
Yeah, you can have this casual
Mm-hmm.
conversation, and people really connect with you if you are a content creator, or if you're an
Mm-hmm.
influencer, maybe executive that people want to pick the brains of. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
sounds like I get excited now to get prepared when I get this function to.
Next
Uh,
time we do this podcast in an audio event.
let's do that, Katrina. That's a must now. Another question which came to mind is, would you would you recommend people actually to talk about unrelated to their business kind of topics, things that they are passionate about, like maybe, I don't know, you name it, their hobbies, causes that they support, unrelated to the industry they're in, when we talk about LinkedIn? And is that creating a better connection with their audience because they're human, or would you say it's a little bit off the context of the platform?
I hope that the audience is human. I hope that it's not robots watching the content. No, I agree that it can create a stronger connection, because we have some examples where people are leaders and they also share that they volunteer somewhere. And so, because of that, then a lot of people feel more drawn towards that person, and maybe more excited for the things that the company does. So, on LinkedIn, it's great to share also a little bit about your hobbies or your interests outside of work, because of the fact that people want to know you as a person.
So everybody listening, let's be more human, as Katrina said. Let's not be too robotic. That's what
Exactly.
the leaders who care on LinkedIn. That should be another
Yeah.
show, right?
Yes, a
What do
separate one,
the leaders
a
who care
spin-off.
do on?
We make a spin-off.
Great. So many good pieces of advice. So hopefully, those of you who are listening, if you're not active on LinkedIn yet, now is the time to go and start experimenting. And as Katrina said, you're not gonna be, the Bill Gates from day one, or whoever is an influencer. I don't know there, but try sharing what you care about, put a spin to it, experiment, get better, get inspiration from the people, from the influencers. Go check out Katrina and what she's doing. No pressure, Katrina. But now all eyes are on you.
I
And
welcome
Katrina,
everybody.
yes, go check out, give her feedback, make some comments. And Katrina, since we're kind of wrapping up this episode, I want to take the opportunity and just to ask you. We talk about the leaders who care, but if you are a caring leader, it means you're spending a lot of energy to take care of everybody. What about self care? And specifically, what do you do as an entrepreneur, as a consultant, to take care of yourself and make sure you're in the optimal energy state?
I know exactly how my energy levels work. So, taking care of and planning your days, structurizing in a way that would help you to perform better, but also rest is needed. I personally like to do active sports. So things like wakeboarding in the summer, things like snowboarding in the winter, definitely helps me to ease, get a peace of mind, and also I wouldn't say consulting, but talking to other people, getting different perspectives, and spending times with the ones that you like and love is important. So uh, there are a lot of different things like meditations and exercising, and each of us need to find the one that works best for themselves.
So important for all leaders to pay attention to their self-care as well, because at the end of the day, um you know, putting so much energy, making so much good, building stuff requires us to spend so much energy. So we need to
Mm,
be extra careful to prioritize time and resources for the
mm.
self-care. And Katrina, just so we can really wrap up an amazing episode. By the way, we have David us who is joining us and saying thank you, Katrina and Stoyan, amazing podcast. Thank you so much for being with us. And to wrap it up on a high note as well, Katrina, I want you to imagine a better and more caring world. Imagine a horizon of 5, 10 years in the future. What do we have to do more of to get there? How do you imagine a better, more caring world?
I think we need to stick to our values more, to our inner values, to understand that they're not a barrier to get further, but rather to understand how can we use them to really create a better ecosystem for businesses, better place for your employees and colleagues, and better place for yourself with your ideas. So understanding your values and also learning about what kind of uh, environment people want would be a way forward.
Fantastic. And Katrina, I'm sure the audience right now is asking themselves, where can we get in touch with Katrina? How can her and her team help us to grow on LinkedIn? So could you maybe share where could people find you, find LinkedIn, learn about the course? Can you just give us a
Mhm.
brief overview?
For sure. So, as some of you might know, I definitely live on the platform. So, you can find me on LinkedIn, Kotryna Kurt. You can also get in touch with us via email, contact@linkidis.com. Linkidis.com website, you can go there, check it out, check what we do. And also, if you're still wondering if LinkedIn is for you and how can you optimize your profile, then we have linkidiscoursesacademy.com to help you in this journey.
You heard the lady, guys. You you gotta go check out LinkedIn. Get in touch with Katrina if you're really really ambitious about your LinkedIn game. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this episode 69, which means there's
Wow.
68 more episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, share with a friend, and keep on being caring leaders. It's been a pleasure being here with you. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you so much, Katrina, for this amazing episode.
Thank you so much for having me.